a great win for the Tars to open their Super Rugby campaign. Former Wallaby Dan Vickerman is here to take us through it all. Dan, let's start with the Tars winning over the Reds. And overall, how did you rate what you saw from New South Wales, particularly?
Pretty good, obviously, first game of the season, playing against the Reds, a derby match and always a bit of a grudge game, so it was good. Kurtley played pretty well, coming in at 10, stepping in for the injured Bernard. So we've got some good width, got some good continuity, and I think that first half is encouraging for us moving forward.
There was so much talk about Kurtley Beale taking over at fly half. He has done it previously for the Rebels, but to be there for the Tars, what did you think of how well he led the team around?
I think firstly he made that try-saving tackle. Not only did he make the tackle, he got up and pilfered the ball, so it was pretty positive. But all in all, I think Kurt played with good width. Him and Follow combined really well. And Michael Hooper running off him was pretty exciting to see. So I think Kurt directed traffic pretty well. And I think with a couple more games under his belt, whether it's a 10 or 12, he'll only get better in that role. Certainly got to take the general role in that scenario, and with Nick Phipps there, they've got some good opportunities moving forward.
Now, Daryl Gibson wasn't overly happy with the overall performance because of what transpired in the second half. What did you think of how they played out that second 40?
Yeah, I look at it from a different point of view. I suppose they got the bonus point. They played well in the first half. There's a lot to work on, and you don't want to be playing your best football in round one of the competition. But as a coach, I suppose you're always striving for things to be positive. And they'll go back this week and they'll have a look at the tape and work hard, because they've got a formidable challenge that lies ahead next week in the Brumbies.
What about the Reds? Where do they go from here? Because they weren't expected to win, but it's a little bit disappointing for them still.
I think so. I mean, their set piece was pretty good. Their scrum and line-out went well. They gave the backs some good ball to sort of launch their attack from. But all in all, I think they've got to look at where they sort of went wrong last night, whether their depth was incorrect, whether their phase attack was poor, and work hard this week. And look, it's a long season now with 18 teams in the competition, so there's plenty of time ahead for them. But I think they'll want to definitely improve on where they were last night.
The Rebels had a good win to kick off their season over the Western Force, and Reece Hodge was on debut for the Rebels, and he really put in a great effort, didn't he?
He was fantastic, a couple of tries and kicking the ball really well there. And I think it was 28 degrees when they were playing last night, so the electrolytes were coming on the whole time. But all in all, I think that the Rebels are a team to watch. Their back row last night, Geordie, Reid and the rest of them played pretty well. So looking positive for the Rebels, but it was certainly testing conditions for the guys last night. And I was pretty impressed with the Force too. Their set piece was good, and they really threw the ball around, which was great.
Over in New Zealand, we saw the Chiefs beat the Crusaders. And do you think, from what we've seen from them and the other Kiwi teams, that they will again be a force in this competition?
I think the New Zealand guys are always a force, regardless of when they're playing. And I was pretty impressed with the game on Friday night. The rounds this year, it's almost like we're round 6. They've been playing so well, and obviously the Chiefs Crusaders, a tight game there. But I think Tanu Umunga coming in to be the Blues coach, playing against last year's champions, things are looking positive. Chiefs have got a fantastic squad, and it's a big year for the Crusaders coming in with Dan Carter and Richie McCaw moving on. But Kieran Reid's got a pretty good head on his shoulders, and I expect good things from them as always.
We've got a few new teams in the competition. One of them is the Sunwolves. They lost to the Lions, but even that first game showed that there is a lot of passion for that team in Japan.
Yeah, it's great having a game in Tokyo. Who would have thought it back when it was the Super 8s back in the day? So it's good for the game, having a good crowd there in Tokyo, and I think it'll be an interesting year for the Sunwolves. They obviously don't have the depth similar to what the Jaguars do in Argentina. So Mark Hammett, he's a very good coach. He knows what he's about. So I'm looking forward to seeing them play. But I think they'd also want to get a few wins on the board, especially at home.
Now, the Southern Kings, they're back in the competition now. They had a big loss to the Sharks. What do you think about them coming back into the comp and what they'll provide this year?
Yeah, I don't know about that. They've had a few issues on and off the field. Earlier in the season, they had some financial troubles from what I can hear. And they haven't been able to build a squad and get continuity in that regard, because, as you said, they've come in, gone out, come in. So hopefully they'll be able to be competitive. I think South Africa's a proud rugby nation, and all their provinces will look to do well, but I think it could be a long year for the Kings.
Dan Vickerman, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
And Sarah, we'll go back to you in Melbourne.